Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are waking up and feeling awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day. And I hope everyone's been having a great week out there so far. We have a lot to discuss in this morning's video, so thank y'all for joining me as we do so. The big topic in this morning's video is going to be severe weather. We'll talk about other things also, but we'll spend most of our time in this video talking about severe weather chances. Friday, Saturday and Sunday will be the three big days to watch, especially Friday and Saturday. So we're going to speak on everything. The first thing we'll discuss is the storm system itself, and then we'll break down the latest from the Storm Prediction Center as far as the outlooks for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll talk about the ingredients coming together that do support severe weather. I'll give my personal take on a couple things. We'll zoom into Saturday specifically. I'm really concerned about Saturday. I'm not trying to push off Friday or anything like that, because I do think we'll have some nasty weather Friday also, and Sunday too. But I think, in my personal opinion, Saturday could be the big day to watch. So I'll speak on everything and I'll break it all down in great detail. More importantly, I'll try to explain things to you guys as the audience in a way where you folks can understand, as I kind of nerd out with you guys a little bit about the ingredients. And then we'll round the video off by speaking on today's weather. And I will talk about the snow side of the system. We'll talk about winds, but we're not going to spend as much time on that, as I do think severe weather will be the main topic with this storm system. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Just want to say thanks for the prayers. I am feeling much better this morning. I don't know if it's because I've already been up for a few hours, and the video, like yesterday morning, I kind of just jumped right into the video after waking up. I don't know what it is, but definitely allergies has been kicking my butt, and I'm sure it's been kicking a lot of other people's butts too. But we're getting through it. And more importantly, if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below so I can do that. And it gives others an opportunity to do so too. So stay tuned for the very end of the video. I will do another Bible devotion. We'll speak in the Word a little bit in Scripture if you're interested in that. So let's get rocking and rolling. So I'm just going to show you good old tropical tidbits this morning. I think it gives us the best kind of geographical look with the system as a whole. So I want you to kind of focus in on this portion of your screen over here. You see this 982L right here? That's a strong low pressure popping off the Rockies in Colorado, and it's about to eject across kind of this direction in general. This is a strong storm system, and this will really get day one, which is Friday, of severe weather out of the 3 days going. So we'll get this in motion. This is Friday morning, March the 14th, here in the next few days. We'll start to move this until about midday Friday. It begins to deepen. As that number begins to drop, that means the low pressure is getting stronger into a 976 low. What this is doing at this point is probably bringing a lot of strong winds. It is definitely bringing a lot of strong winds across the southern high plains, south of this low, a stout southwesterly flow. And then we start to get into Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. And then if you look at all this action right into here, let's use pink. These are probably going to be strong to severe thunderstorms. I mean, stretching from Iowa all the way down to Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and every state in between. So low pressure, bringing in a lot of ingredients, which we'll talk about here in a second, into this area. And of course, we're not in range of the short range models, so we don't know the exact structure of these storms. Of course, we never know the exact structure and look at these storms until they're actually happening on radar. But the short range model guidance, the CAMs, things like that, give us a much better idea of the kind of storm mode, if you will. Is this going to be more linear, supercell, kind of semi-discrete? What is it going to be? We just don't know that yet. But this is all most likely strong to severe storms. Now we keep this going and we start to get, let's click on this so we can get this in motion. We start to get into the middle of the night, Friday night into Saturday morning. So this is basically like, you might as well say midnight Friday night. 970-ish, I would say, low, riding over areas of the Midwest. We start to get a snow side, so we start to see some blue showing up. And this stuff right here, kind of in the orange, yellow, green, this is probably a nasty line of storms in the middle of the night, Friday night, working its way across the Midwest, Illinois. I mean, probably going across the Mississippi Valley area. We probably have storms ongoing down here. I know this just looks very clustered up. You're like, man, this doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but just focus on the fact that we have a strong storm system. Now, we get into Saturday morning. Our strong, powerful low pressure heads off to the north, bringing strong winds on the southeast, the east side of this storm system. We're probably going to get a corridor that will have an opportunity for a blizzard wherever it is snowing. It just doesn't look like a very large area that will see snow. But whoever is seeing snow on the the left side this low, the west side this low, is probably going to get blizzard conditions, a little winter weather. I just don't think it'll be as widespread as last week's system as far as the blizzard side. But you see these clusters of greens, yellows, and reds. These are probably strong to severe storms. I mean, making its way across the South, Mid-South, Ohio Valley, etc. And then we start to get into Saturday morning in any given hour. And let's just take it to about midday Saturday. Now, our main low is heading off this way. I mean, it's so far up north, it's gaining so much latitude. You're losing the overlapping conditions for severe weather. But what's happening here, and you can't really see it on the screen, is the trough, the area of low pressure, continues to move east. And in the basin, kind of southeast quadrant of this trough, another low develops somewhere into here. Okay? Another low pressure. Not actually showing a low or an L on this screen, but there's some sort of other lower pressure right in here. In response, this is going to yank in all the ingredients and really fire up a low-level jet, the kinematics, the thermodynamics, all the ingredients needed for severe weather for the Deep South once again. So I really think Saturday, there is a fail mode with this, which we hope happens, but Saturday could be a bad day of severe weather. I mean, Friday obviously is going to be a day itself, but I'm telling you, Saturday has me worried. But all you see is clusters of green and red and yellow, orange, etc. This could all be severe, strong to severe thunderstorms capable of producing all hazards. And when we get into Saturday afternoon, and this is just a lot of severe weather. This is getting into Saturday evening. We got green all the way up to Ohio. We got the different colors all through this area. Just when you look at this entire area, I want you to think, okay, an opportunity for strong to severe storms. And it's going to be here. The Storm Prediction Center highlights this area, and it makes sense because you have low pressure running through this area, yanking up all the ingredients, bringing all the ingredients, overlapping each other for severe weather. And we get into Saturday night. I think strong to severe storms will be making its way across the Appalachian Mountains, west of it. And then we start to get into Sunday. And sure enough, and you've been following along on my channel, I've been talking about how I did think they're going to issue an outlook for a 15% risk area for Sunday. They have, and it makes sense as you see all the energy beginning to move closer to the I-95 corridor. It looks like storms from, North Florida all the way up into the Northeast maybe. And then the system finally clears out, but this is some nasty weather. Even into Monday morning, it still has storms lingering along and just east of the I-95 corridor for next Monday morning. So that's a breakdown of the storm. Probably spent a little bit more time on that than I wanted, but that's what I always do on this channel. So now let's talk about the actual outlooks per the Storm Prediction Center. This was issued a couple hours ago. So we still have this enhanced risk. This is day 4. This is for Friday. Okay, so the orange area means, as you can tell right here, and I'll click here, it means there is a 30% chance of any severe weather. That could be tornadoes, large hail, damaging winds. The yellow area, that's a 15% risk of any severe weather. So the orange is basically an enhanced risk, a level 3 out of 5 risk of severe weather at day 4 for Friday already. So what is going to be the biggest threat? I can tell you, you're going to get a pretty high risk of tornadoes and damaging winds. Hell, we just got to see other factors, but the storm mode, normally if we get more in the form of supercells, larger hail threat. But anyways, large area, geographical area has a risk of severe weather. The most confidence in this orange area, 30% risk of severe weather. This includes St. Louis now, down to Memphis, down to Little Rock. Basically right where Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Missouri, and Arkansas all kind of come together. Enhanced risk of severe weather already for day 4. So this is most likely going to at least stay the same or either go up another category. So if you're not familiar with the categories, I'd like to always go over this for any new viewers. Marginal risk is a level 1 out of 5. You'll see that in a dark green once you get from day 3 closer. Slight risk is in the yellow, level 2 out of 5. Enhanced risk is in orange, level 3 out of 5. Moderate risk is in the red, level 4 out of 5. And the infamous high risk is a level 5 out of 5. It'll show up in the pink. You don't see that often. But anyways, so Slight risk, I mean, goes all the way up from Rochester, Minnesota, Madison, Wisconsin. Guys, I mean, through Chicago now, over to Des Moines, all the way back over to Louisville, Evansville, Nashville, down to Birmingham, Huntsville, Florence, down to Jackson, Shreveport, back over to Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Springfield. So, man, a lot of areas under the gun for severe weather for Friday. Now we get into Saturday, okay? The outlook has gotten even larger for this area. Let's zoom into the enhanced risk area first, okay? Once again, in this orange area, a 30% risk of any severe weather. Tornadoes, large hail, damaging winds. This includes Atlanta, Chattanooga now, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Montgomery, down to the western panhandle of Florida, down into southeast and eastern areas of Mississippi, including Meridian, Hattiesburg, Mobile, Alabama, all the way up into the Cumberland Plateau. So the thing that is really getting my attention is how further east this is spread. So we now have this slight risk stretching all the way from, I got a lot of people that ask about severe weather in Ohio. There must be a lot of people who have storm anxiety in Ohio, or either, you got people who are fans of severe weather that are weather enthusiasts. Doesn't mean that you want severe weather to happen. It means you're just interested in it. But yes, for Saturday, there is a risk of severe weather all the way up in Ohio, and it makes sense based off what we're seeing. Pittsburgh, slight risk, 15% risk of any severe weather. Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati. Even Charleston, West Virginia, Lexington, Louisville. Down to Knoxville, the Tri-Cities area, Johnson City, Asheville, North Carolina, Western North Carolina, just in general. Greenville, Spartanburg has a slight risk now. Nashville even has a slight risk for, they're calling for severe weather in Nashville for Friday and Saturday. And this goes all the way down here to New Orleans, Baton Rouge. So, being big day. And I really think this area right in here, this is for what happens Saturday night. And then the newest area is for Sunday. And remember, I circled this area a couple days ago. I thought there would be a risk of severe weather here. So we got a slight risk, not an enhanced risk. Basically a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather stretching from, Allenton, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, southern New Jersey, the Delmarva, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., all the way through Richmond, all the way through Raleigh, Greensboro, down to Columbia, Florence, Augusta, including all of southern and southeast Georgia, all the way down to the central and the northern bend of Florida. Okay, so, large area. It's going to be a weekend full of severe weather. So it's coming. Now, talking about the storm system itself, we already kind of done that, but speaking on the ingredients. So the first thing I like to look at is the 500 millibar wind flow. So these are winds at 18,000 feet up in the air, and this always goes off knots. So Friday morning, you already have this this mid-level jet, going in over 100 knots, screaming into western Texas. So we already have a ton of wind energy. That's what I want you to look. I want you to look at this right here, okay, and think wind energy, okay, which is kinematics, which is an ingredient for severe weather. It's what drives, depending on how much directional turn you got in the upper levels of the atmosphere and things like that. It's what drives a damaging wind and a tornado threat, especially a damaging wind threat. So it's a lot of wind energy moving and digging down into these southern plains. So you keep this going and we start to get, and this is the Euro ensemble, so it's probably the responsible thing to look at this range. It's a blended run of all guidance. We got this corridor of winds moving, and this is probably going to be stronger in this because this is a Euro, this is the ensemble. So I would say that you're probably going to have a jet streak over areas of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Texas, going at over 100 knots. So it's a lot of wind energy moving over this highlighted area for severe weather. Okay, as this trough digs down in response, a low is beginning to develop and deepen. The surface low is probably more so up here, but the actual mid to upper cyclone or low is swinging through here. There's two different things, and that's when it gets kind of fuzzy, and there's no need to get into all of that until we get closer. We focus on that surface low a lot because that surface low is really what yanks up all the ingredients. So we start to get into Friday night, and all this wind energy begins to move into the Midwest. I think we'll get some strong winds into this area. And then we start to get into Saturday. Now, this is when another embedded surface low could develop along this trough, right into here somewhere. Surface low is going to develop most likely. It might be out of this circle I drew, but this is probably where you're going to have an enhancement of wind energy that kind of surges through here. Not only in the upper levels, but the low levels, which is what I'm about to show you also. And then we start to go through Saturday night, and then we go through Sunday. And I think we're going to have a huge corridor of wind energy in the upper levels of the atmosphere that swings over the eastern seaboard. And this will mix to the surface in the form of where we're standing, in the form of probably some strong wind gusts for Sunday. Now, looking at kinematics too, this is winds at 850 millibars, so about 4,000 to 6,000 feet up in the air. We call this the low-level jet. So this is really what we look at as far as trying to figure out, sure, wind energy, but this is when we really start to figure out where is the highest wind threat going to be and the highest tornado threat going to be. Now, you don't need some raging low-level jet where winds are going at like 75, 80 miles per hour, 5,000, 6,000 feet above your head. And that low-level jet is when you kind of wake up on the morning of a risk of severe weather at your specific location. You wake up, you go outside 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, the clouds are just racing. That is your low-level jet. You can literally see it. 18,000 feet up in the air, you probably ain't going to see that much. But yeah, so already Friday morning, we're waking up with a massive field of low-level wind energy. So, and if you look at the wind barbs right here, you see how they're kind of pointing more and kind of coming more out the south rather than the west. The mid-level jet, the upper-level jet, is more so out the southwest. So there's a little bit of turning with height, more so out the south, and the lower levels switches more so to the southwest, and the upper levels, a little bit of a spin in the atmosphere. We call that directional shear. So we start to get into Friday midday, and we got this enhanced low-level jet right over. It could be anywhere. Just remember, this is blended model guidance, but really over Missouri, areas of Arkansas, pushing 50, 60 knots, but it's probably going to be higher than this because this is blended guidance. But then as we start to get into Friday evening, that low-level jet increases even more in response to a deepening low to the northwest. And we're just going to have a lot of winds in the low levels of the atmosphere. This will mix to the surface 50, 60, 70 knots. That's going at about interstate speed, about a mile above your head. But at the surface, that's probably 30, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts, even outside of storms. So you're probably going to get a big windstorm, I would say, along with a line of storms. But even outside the storms, probably into the Midwest and maybe even areas of the Ohio Valley Friday night. And then I want you to watch this area down here. See how it kind of grows? There's another area of that kind of becomes more enhanced down here. 50, 60, 70 knot low-level jet gets going across Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, or across the southern and central Appalachian Mountains. And this is going to just continue to bring in all the ingredients for severe weather. And just remember, there's mountains, through this area right in here, okay? So, these mountaintops that extend 3,000, 5,000 feet up in the air, some of these mountainous areas extend into the low-level jet. People forget that. I think Helene is a great example of, the tragedy that happened. And the reason the wind damage was so bad, it looked like areas got hit by a bomb. And some of the higher terrain of the mountains of like North Carolina and other states is because Helene brought one heck of a low-level wind field right into the mountains of western North Carolina. So winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere, like 4,000 to 6,000 feet up in the air, which isn't too far up. We're going 80, 100 miles per hour. But if you're sitting at about 1,000 to 2,000 feet up in the air, maybe only 40 to 60 miles per hour. 100 mile per hour winds is just going to blow trees down, right? So elevation does matter, but most of these areas don't. Not everybody lives in the Appalachian Mountains, but this is a lot of wind energy moving over this area. But I always like to show extra love to the folks in the mountains because they're still cleaning up. There's still a lot of loose debris out there, etc. But all this wind energy continues to move across the eastern seaboard. So, Sunday morning, which is when this is, you got this massive low-level wind field going over this entire area, and this is just going to bring very windy conditions. So, next thing you look at is surface moisture. So there's a debate right now on Friday, for example, on how far north the surface moisture is going to get. Model guidance is kind of everywhere, but if we just look at blended model guidance, and this is the Euro Ensemble, this is for like this coming Friday afternoon, Friday evening. And if you hear me mix up Friday and Saturday, because I will do that every once in a while, just hit me up in the comments and put the timestamp in and say, hey, Mitch, you mixed up Friday and Saturday. I'm going to do that sometimes when I'm just talking my head off. I'm not going to take any offense to it at all. But as you can tell, this is like Friday evening. You got dew points on the Euro Ensemble. They'll be higher than this, I think. That, get into the 50s into the Midwest. Now, dew points in the 50s up in the Midwest it's just enough moisture to get some severe weather going. But it keeps the deepest moisture down here, the dew points into the 60s, across areas of the western deep south. And I think that is where your deepest moisture is going to be. So who's going to get the best overlapping ingredients for severe weather? I would say it's right where the Storm Prediction Center highlights where the enhanced risk area is, which I believe is like somewhere, probably somewhere into here. This is probably where you're going to get the best kinematic energy, wind energy, and your best probably low-level moisture right into here, flow coming right into here. And I do think you're going to get higher dew points in the 50s up into this area. But this is thermodynamic energy, and you continue to move into Saturday morning. And as a low pressure is beginning to develop, I think we're going to get a yanking north of a lot of rich Gulf moisture that gets pulled north all the way up into the Mid-South. So you're waking up Saturday morning to very humid conditions, I think, across the Deep South. You're going to wake up across Mississippi, Alabama, and say, okay, severe weather is definitely on the way. It's going to feel like it outside. And then, we continue to get into Saturday afternoon, evening. You get this rich moisture. Dew points in the 60s is really what you look for in the Deep South for severe weather. Anything around that and above that, you're definitely going to have ingredients for severe weather. And dews even begin to rise all the way into the Northeast as we're getting into Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. And then check it out, Sunday morning, we're waking up to a pretty humid morning for mid-March standards across the Southeast with dew points in the 60s. And then we're going to get a spike in this surface moisture all the way up into the Delmarva and potentially all the way up into southern New England. And this is what will cause severe weather chances in this area for Sunday, most likely, right into this region, because you do have this slither of Gulf and Atlantic moisture that kind of comes up into this area. So one of the last things I'll speak on is Cape levels, and this is something that I like to look at more when we're in short-range model guides. But what we know is, and Cape is storm fuel. You need it to get these storms going. Just because you have it, that don't mean that these storms will get going. Sometimes you have a cap of warm air in the upper levels of the atmosphere that prevents updrafts from really rising. But I tell you, and this is the Euro Ensemble too. It's showing Cape values over 1,000 joules per kilogram, 1,500 joules per kilogram, getting all the way into Arkansas. But check out this slither of storm energy all the way up into the upper Midwest. This is interesting to me. Could have really just an environment that does support severe weather, but you don't have a lot of low-level moisture up here. So we'll see about that. And then we start to get into Saturday, and I really think that we'll have more energy than what the Euro Ensemble is showing. I think the reason it's kind of muffled right in this area is because you got some runs that are still not being aggressive with this surface low popping off here. And I will say that is worth mentioning. There is a chance that models are off with this little short wave or surface low that ejects across the Deep South that we've been watching for a few days. And Saturday is one of those days where it could be an epic fail as far as severe weather in the best ways possible. Nothing really materializes. Or it could be an outbreak, a tornado outbreak. I think the ceiling is high for Saturday. And then the Cape does spike across the I-95 corridor. It doesn't look like a lot. But listen, this is just blended guidance. So, I mean, I really think it'll be higher than this. So, just another look, just one last look here at this particular model run. I thought about not even showing this, but this is getting into Friday afternoon. You see the storms kind of explode here in Missouri into Iowa. And I know I'm missing some states. You see the storms down here, but it shows a lot of storm action in Missouri and surrounding states. And then it shows that line of storms I was talking about going across the Midwest and, you know, areas of the Boot Heel and stuff like that. This is going to have a lot of wind energy with it, I think, guys. So this could be a nasty squall line moving across Illinois late Friday night and a Saturday morning. Could break up into the Ohio Valley, and then you see a vigorous development of storms down here in the deep south as early as like Saturday morning. And then you're going to see the clustering of storms. And all this action down here, this is Saturday afternoon, could be strong to severe thunderstorms. And really, I'm just concerned about Saturday. I am. I don't have the best feeling about Saturday. But this is, I mean, we got storms getting all the way up into here into the Ohio Valley. And yeah, so. And just taking another look at Saturday, just to spend a couple extra minutes on here. This is what I'm watching. This is the one run of the Euro. This is Saturday afternoon. You see this 993 low right here? Ignore all this. Okay, this and this and this. And I really want you to just focus on this right here. Okay? That is the low that can get going. And this could kind of form at the base of this trough that continues to progress eastward. So we keep going. All right, so this turns into like a 996 low, and it's cruising across the Mississippi Delta area. And this low could very well be over here. On this run of the Euro, it kind of goes across the Mississippi River and kind of moves into Ohio. But that is the area right here, the low that we are watching. This kind of area, that's not the color we want to use. This area right into here where a surface low could develop, kind of move through this area and really yank in all the ingredients for severe weather across that enhanced risk area that the Storm Prediction Center is mentioning. Where did my graphic go? That stinks. But yeah, okay, I forgot. I was going to wing it here. But I was like, man, what's going on? But, you know, just to show the low-level wind field that gets pulled up in response to this surface low. Okay, I mean, this is winds at 850 millibars. So this area right here, these are winds, and this is one run going at over 70 knots. But watch as we get into Saturday midday, and then we get into Saturday afternoon. You see this area right into here? That is a low-level jet raging over the deep south in response to a surface low right into here. And these surface lows, they'll bring their own low-level wind field with them. And this brings in a ton of wind energy that could support damaging winds and tornadoes into this area. And that's what's alarming, is that is a dangerous looking low-level jet rumbling through this entire area that eventually Saturday night gets all the way up into the Ohio Valley. And this is going to bring a lot of strong winds to the surface. And I am concerned about it. And, you know, with this low developing, if you look at surface moisture, I know I'm spending a lot of time on this, guys, but I just, you know, like I said, don't have the best feeling about Saturday. I hope I'm wrong. You know, as we're looking at the low-level moisture, look at these dew points that we're waking up to Saturday morning. Already rich Gulf moisture, dew points in the upper 60s, even low 70s, and it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, these dew points in the 60s like this, I mean, with an overlapping low-level jet over this region, this is going to spell an outbreak of severe weather if it happens like this. So, you know, and we can just look at kind of surface cape here, and let's just look at this. But that's, I mean, this is the most unstable cape, so not the best thing to look at. But I mean, it shows plenty of storm energy up through here. And you don't need a lot of cape in this setup. I mean, 500 to 1,000 joules per kilogram will create an outbreak of severe weather. So we'll continue to watch that, guys, but just want to spend a little extra time on it. But as far as the snow side, I just don't want to ignore my friends up here in the Dakotas and Minnesota. We are still watching a corridor of snow. The Euro ensemble likes this area right in here now. It's really starting to hone into really the eastern Dakotas, maybe a section of Nebraska, and areas at kind of a western, northern Minnesota. You still got that 2 to as much as 5-inch snowfall average up here. Not a forecast quite yet, but that is where your footprint of snow is, right into this area. Not a lot, but with strong winds, you could have blizzard conditions. If we look at the GFS ensemble, it's starting to agree with the Euro ensemble too. You know, it was like yesterday kind of showing more snow into this area, but now it's really keeping it in the same area as the Euro, and it's just liking mainly the eastern Dakotas and then western areas of Minnesota, a little small section of northeast Nebraska. But you kind of mix this with the strong winds, and you know, these are wind gusts predicted by the Euro, wind gusts, not consistent winds between now and Sunday evening, and you're going to get probably 30 to 40, maybe 50 mile per hour wind gusts in this area of where snow could fall, which is kind of like right into here. And we could have blizzard conditions in these areas. And it could be enough to pump out some blizzard warnings. But really, the concerning thing is, and there's so many things to talk about, is as this initial low that will turn to a powerful low develops right in here and kind of moves throughout this area or wherever it goes, south of this low, you're going to have dangerous winds that get going up here and that get going south of this low pressure into the southern plains and then into Oklahoma and the central plains. We're going to have this area of 50 to as much as 70 mile per hour wind gusts that sweep across this area. Very dry conditions, rapid onset drought conditions, and you're probably going to run a wildfire risk, kind of a brush fire risk, and you're just going to have non-thunderstorm damaging winds in this area. So please be aware of that in this region. And I know you guys are used to that, getting kind of hoodooed, if you will, with some of these storm systems that don't bring you guys much rain. And then there's just going to be strong winds between both systems across the eastern U.S. between now and the weekend. Of course, this gets going Friday into Sunday. So really, this graphic for these strong wind gusts are really for, I would say, Friday and a Saturday and a Sunday. So we're going to get heavy rain from, you know, all this too, I will say. So this is kind of the first couple storm systems. This is between now and Monday midday. Heavy rain is going to fall from these storms and stuff, but you know, we got to watch storm systems after this too. This is between now and the next 10 to 11 days. I do think we're going to have more storm systems after this. So that's an update on all that. Went 32 minutes deep on that. So let's go on and break down today's weather. Luckily, today's weather is not that active. Man, we had a raw day, a weather day Monday here in South Carolina. It was crazy looking at the temperature gradient. Everywhere around us got into the 60s, but man, it was stuck in the 40s in South Carolina and areas of Georgia and North Carolina yesterday. And we continue to have this pesky low that's spinning around. It's bringing rain to the eastern areas of North Carolina, but this will eventually head on off, dealing with a little bit of snow in Maine and a little bit of weather skirting across areas in the northern Rockies. And we do have a storm system moving into Southern California, bringing some, you know, much needed rain, but we don't need it too fast, of course. But watches, warnings, and advisories. We do have winter storm warnings across Sierra Nevada, some winter storm watches out, some winter weather advisories in the purple. We got special weather statements in a few areas due to just some fog and other things like that. We do have a coastal flood advisory expires in the next 10 hours across the Outer Banks and southeast North Carolina from this low pressure. But outside of that, it's pretty chill. Risk of thunderstorms really confined to the southwest, but I don't expect any severe weather today. And excessive rainfall. Do have a small risk of flash flooding in the southern areas of California, but not a huge deal. This low pressure will head on off, and it'll end up being a phenomenal weather day across the southeast. Temperatures will rise. It'll be in the 60s and 70s, and it'll just be a beautiful day across the southeast. Not much to speak on. And honestly, for the northeast, there's not much to speak on either. Maybe some rain enters northern areas of Maine, and maybe some more widespread rain showers across the rest of the state of Maine this evening. But outside of that, everybody else, you know, cool as a cucumber up here in the northeast. The south central U.S., southern plains, quiet weather day. But that'll change later this week, so enjoy the quiet. But here comes our first storm system. I will mention there is a threat of severe weather before the main severe weather Friday through Sunday. And we'll speak on that in the next video. But It's a quiet weather day. We got some energy moving into New Mexico, but it's mainly a quiet weather day. Up here in the north central U.S., pretty quiet too. A little energy moving across North Dakota, and in form of some rain and snow. And then we got some snow showers up here in northern Minnesota. Cold air is really locked into the north. And then tomorrow morning could wake up to some snow showers flying around across the UP of Michigan. And then the western U.S., we do have this low pressure moving into the southwest. This will continue to bring rain across Southern California. We got a low pressure also moving into the Pacific Northwest this evening. This will bring rain for Seattle, areas of Northwest Oregon, and the rest of the state of Washington. And then this system will bring just a round of heavy precipitation. Just depends on your elevation. Could be snow, could be rain. Even like Phoenix could get some showers and storms later on tonight. And then that energy will progress into the southern plains. And then we'll get a larger storm system, which is our next big storm system we just broke down that starts to move into the western U.S. tomorrow morning. Temperatures today, beautiful weather day. I mean, it's going to rise all the way into the 60s, all the way into the southern tier of New York, southern New England, cold air locked into Canada. But across the southeast, the southern sections of the country, all the way into the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, beautiful, beautiful weather and temperatures today. It's just going to be a classic spring-like day for sure. And pretty nice out west too. So that's all I got, guys. I want to do a little Bible devotion, and I always like to switch it to this. Let's pause this. So I'm going to do 2 Bible verses this morning. And the first one is going to be in Mark. Let's see, Mark chapter 16, verse 15. And I might go another verse after this too. So Mark chapter 16, verse 15. Then he said to them, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be condemned." So I got that one. And then I have, all right, I put them all, there it is. And 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 20. "Therefore, we are ambassadors for Christ, since God is making this appeal through us. We plead on Christ's behalf. Be reconciled to God. He made the one who did not know sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God." So I really just did verse 20. "Therefore, we are ambassadors for Christ, since God is making his appeal through us. We plead on Christ's behalf. Be reconciled to God." So those 2 scriptures are really talking on, I believe, just spreading the gospel. And you know, we got a cool sign right outside of our church when we leave. It says, "This is," hitting my desk over here, "This is your mission field." And what it means is, you know, go out and spread the gospel. Use and I think one of the best ways to do that, guys, is use what's God given. You know, your gifts, your talents. You know, for me, this is my platform, the weather, YouTube, and that's why I add prayer into it. I'm now doing these Bible devotions, and I felt called to do it. And you know, I'm never going to shy away from, you know, talking to you guys and what I believe, which is, you know, talking about God. So, you know, I know it's kind of scary when you get out there and, you know, and it says be ambassadors of God, but, you know, and get out there and talk to others about the gospel and invite them to church and know, and have those uncomfortable conversations. But we are called to do it. And I know that I pray with my kids every single night. I'm like, you know, Lord, you know, please present an opportunity for me and the family to talk about you to others. And when the time comes for us to do that, for me to do that, please give me the words to say so I can, you know, I guess present my case. But and one of the big things I'm big on is, what gifts, what talents do you have? You know, we see athletes do it. We see them use their platform to glorify God, and that's huge. You know, use what you're good at. Use your platform. You know, we have these incredible gifts. Some people have these, you know, crazy gifts, and we're called to use them to glorify God, to spread the gospel. So we got to take as many people with us as possible. So, and I'll leave it with this. If you got any questions about it, and I know sometimes I get some comments like, you know, keep your religion to yourself. Well, Of course, I'm not going to do that. But if you got any questions and you're interested, definitely reach out to me through email, through Facebook, through Twitter X, and send me a message, and I would love to talk to you about it. And just remember, don't you got to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation so God can use you, and you'll be blessed for it. And of course, the best blessing of all could potentially come to someone's life, which is them being saved, and giving their life to Christ. So that's all I got, guys. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll have another update when we do. God bless.